Welcome back, friends, to the spring session. This week, we're going to be exploring all things liver. The liver is the yin aspect of the wood element, and its bioenergetics are highlighted here in the season of spring. So I'm going to read to you a little from our book, our resource, Characters of Wisdom, Taoist Tales of the Acupuncture Points. The liver. When we have vision, we have a glimpse of the future and what the future will bring. We can see a garden in the rough soil or a house on a plot of land. As we bring that plan to fruition, then the next plan can form. In this way, life grows and develops. The vision of the liver gives hope for the future where we can see our goals. In the Neijing, it is said that the liver is the master planner. It holds the office of the general and the armed forces. The assessment of circumstances and plans comes from its vision. The words of the liver are said to command the development of this plan from the consideration of all sides and all ways. The liver is always on the point of putting its plan into action. It uses this capacity to carefully assess the circumstances that life brings, and it can move into action, putting what is necessary into motion. In this way, we are able to see our way forward through a plan that leads to our goals. The superficial meridian runs medial up the leg and along the front to the lower ribs. So here you see an image of the liver. It's found in the upper right quadrant of the body, and it is protected by the ribs. It is a yin organ, so it needs this special protection and internal space within the body. The liver itself is physically covered in a dense connective tissue matrix, and at birth, it comprises up to 4% of the body weight. Liver is super important in all kinds of biophysical processes, and particularly the storage and movement of blood. So that's why it's actually so big at birth, because it's doing a lot of work gestationally. So here's an image of the liver. You see the right lobe and the left lobe. And if you were to turn it upside down, you would also see that it has kind of like 4 lobes, because there's the right and the left, and then there's the front and the back. So we have the major parts of the anatomy of the liver, where we have the bile ducts, the hepatic vein, the left lobe, right lobe, the hepatic duct, and we have the gallbladder hanging out underneath the liver, working in synthesis with it to carry out the liver's plans. So the physiology of the liver has a lot to do with blood storage. So you have the hepatic portal vein that supplies 75% of its supply from the spleen and the gastrointestinal system. So you see this hepatic portal vein here coming in to the liver. This is essentially where nutrient-rich blood from the spleen and the intestines goes directly to the liver to infuse it with all the vital nourishment that it needs to do all of its work. It also gets blood supply from the hepatic artery, which is where it gets its oxygenated blood. So it gets 2 spaces where it gets infused with blood. The liver is actually a physical, expandable blood reservoir that holds 10% of our blood volume. So this is really important, particularly because it can counteract high blood pressure from the right atrium to expand and store in its veins and arteries. So if there's a lot of pressure in the heart, it can actually hold space for that pressure energy to kind of be relieved and held in the liver. So it kicks in as a reservoir when there's excess blood volume in the body, and it supplies the body when there's diminished blood volume. So this is a really super cool thing that the liver does. And you can start to think about how it is actually like this reservoir of nourishment and potential. So as we heard in our passage from Characters of Wisdom, the liver is planning, organizing, bringing visions into action, and supplying that process and that blueprint into the body through the consciousness of the blood. So our blood is important for nourishment. This is how we get nutrients to our tissues. When we have enough blood, we have comfort and contentment. So the liver kind of modulates our ability to feel good about where we're at and where we're going. It is also important that there's a free flow of blood to and from the liver so that it can get all of that nourishment throughout the body and it can hold on to the resources that it needs in case we essentially need to hold on to something and replenish, or again, clear through that excess. When there's deficiency in blood, when we don't have enough nourishment, we don't have enough sustenance, we can feel like we have low self-esteem and an incapacity to essentially bring our gifts to the world. When we are congealed in our blood, meaning it's not moving the way that it's supposed to, we can develop rigid boundaries and become over involved in holding on and controlling the needs of the self. When the blood is impeded or our body is impeded, it creates a lack of movement and expansiveness, a lack of potential for growth. And it essentially, liver and blood together are working to release the manifestation of potential into our body so that we can carry this beautiful vehicle into the direction of our purpose and carry out all the biophysical processes that we need to be healthy to execute our highest purpose in life. So the liver is also responsible for the processes of synthesizing. So what does that mean to synthesize? It's essentially a combination of ideas to form a theory or system, or the production of a chemical compound by reaction from simpler materials. So the liver is doing synthesis on a biophysical level as well as a consciousness level. So we talked about it taking the vision and the purpose and the plans for life and putting it into an actual formula to move us forward. So this is all this big picture, abstract soul concept and big vision, and then taking it, organizing it, and making a theory and a system out of it. And then physiologically, it's doing the same thing, but in like a more tangible sense, where it's working to deal with synthesizing proteins, carbohydrates, working with building the amino acids and processing lipid and fat metabolism, as well as toxins. So you can kind of see where there's this overlap of the consciousness and the big picture alchemical processes, as well as the physiological processes. So a little bit more on the job of the liver. Here we see it over here as getting the award for the worker of the month. It's a really big, big deal in the body, and it keeps everything together. So carbohydrate metabolism is the process of creating glucose to release for energy. So that's what we run our body systems on. Glycogenesis is the process of synthesizing glucose from amino acids. So this is really all about how do we process our energy and utilize it for metabolic functioning. Fat liver cells produce glycerol, which is instrumental in breaking down fats that are used in that glycogenesis process. There's also protein metabolism and amino acid synthesis that plays an important role in red blood cell production and clotting. So remember, again, storing and moving blood. Lipid metabolism to the fat metabolism, dealing with cholesterol and the production of good triglycerides. So this is how our body lubricates itself, gets juicy, builds hormones, and all of that is really important for metabolic function. It is also responsible for working with the insulin-like growth factor. So it's really, really instrumental in childhood growth, as well as our own growth and development in life. And last but not least, it breaks down insulin and other hormones. So this is kind of like the master metabolizer or metabolic function unit of the body. So most people know the liver is responsible for detoxification. There's other detox mechanisms that the body uses, but the liver does the bulk of the internal detoxing. So what it does is it breaks down and creates the substance to express waste through the urea. It deals with toxic substances. So this could be bringing in toxins from our food, our air, our water, and also any kind of medications or other heavy metals or things that come in through the skin or through the body system. The liver is also responsible for drug metabolism. So any kind of prescription drugs or anything that we're taking in, that even herbs or other plants and properties that have constituents that will act upon the body, the liver figures out what to do with those compounds. It produces, like I said, urea from the ammonia and the toxins that then are cleared out in the urine. So it's really important, this detoxification relationship to the urine and to sweating and the fluids of the body, that the body has a way to release all of the stuff that the liver is doing to get it out of the body. So we have the bile here. This is a lovely image of bile, kind of nasty looking. It's a bitter green, brown alkaline fluid that is produced by the liver that aids in digestion. So the liver also helps us digest. It's a big part of our ability to digest foods, especially fats. So bile breaks down fats into fatty acids, and it consists of water, bile salt, bilirubin, and fats. It's secreted by the liver and sent to the small intestine via the duodenum and the common bile duct. And then it is stored in the gallbladder via the cystic duct. So we'll talk a little bit next week about the gallbladder and how it takes that bile, refines it, and then rhythmically releases it to support synthesizing and digesting through the body. So other physiological significance of the liver is that it plays an important role in lymph production, the storage of vitamins, and transports fatty acids and hormones. So again, it's like the metabolic processing king or queen, the general of the body. So I hope this finds you guys with a little bit of creative curiosity this week to look at the function of the liver. And if you have any questions or want to know more about the physiology, please post your comments in the comment section and we'll get into a deep dive dialogue about the liver, continuing on with our liver consciousness and our liver energetics in the next few modules. Guys, be wellness.